Like most of my projects, the joiner is where I begin. I got one face flat and one edge, and though I didn't show it, I did run the other side through the planer before cutting the boards into 2-inch strips. The wood I'm using right now for this part of the chess table is Wenge and curly maple. I am resawing the boards I just cut in half. The 8 strips then got planed down to a 1/4 inch. I got the first glue up done for the chess table. It's in the kind of the right hand side of my screen there, and now I'm breaking down some wood that I'm going to use for the base. I am going to do a turned pedestal type base, so I sandwiched a piece of curly maple in between some walnut and got it glued together. I put it aside and it's going to sit there until I'm ready to work it. With that glued up, I shifted gears to the chess tabletop. I cut a bunch of 2-inch strips again and then got them glued up. I did use a 1/2-inch piece of Baltic birch for a substrate. Well, I have got the chest top glued up. Very little pickup with dust collection. It's quite nice. So just gonna put away a few tools and hopefully I have some workable wood in the morning. I was all over the place this morning. I took the chessboard out of clamps and set that to the side. I was pretty happy with the glue up. The pedestal got cut to its final size, which was 23 inches. Yeah, I don't love when that happens. I used a hand plane to clean that up. Adding these pieces was definitely an afterthought. You'll see more about why I put those there when I start turning this thing. Back to the chest top. I used a track saw to square up 2 edges. I then took the board over to the table saw to square everything else. I did a double check for square and then got working on the border. For the border, I'm going to be using Purple Heart and Walnut. I cut the border pieces a little oversized so they can be trimmed to their final size after a glue up. This is the glue up. Boy, that is a lot of clamps. I am going to reinforce this with dowels. I guess you'll just have to see in a second. Probably doesn't need it, but it'll make me feel better with some reinforcement, especially the miters, though everything should be tight. That's just what I'm gonna do. So the panel that I just glued up is drying right behind me. I'm gonna make a mitered box here with a drawer, hopefully a double-sided drawer. That panel's what I'm going to be using to make the rest of these pieces. I'm probably about ready to start turning what I hope to be a pedestal type base for this. We're hoping that works out. But before I get started on that, I'm going to just clean this chest top up just a little bit. I'm not going to get too crazy with it because I'm going to give it one final trim, which will be the final size, but I'm not going to do that until the panels are ready to be cut to final size. A couple things I'm going to point out as I'm getting started on the lathe. I am what I consider a beginner woodworker, and I don't know what is less than that, but whatever that is where I'm at on the lathe. So we're going to see what happens. I did have an idea in my head, and I got pretty close. Obviously, there's a ton of room for improvement. The next thing is where my lathe is located. It makes it pretty hard to film. There's not a lot of room. I would like to get a mobile base for it, but I don't have it yet. So here's kind of what I did, and hopefully it looks pretty good when it's all said and done. Well, I am going to call that done. It is sanded. I think it looks pretty cool. So it was a lot of fun. It was kind of right where my skill level is. So obviously I'd like to do something a lot more elaborate, but I'm not there yet. I've also got a pretty big mess down there on the floor. I don't have any dust collection for the lathe, so this is the first mess I've had since I got that set up. Well, it is 5 o'clock. I did get the pieces cut out for the mitered box that I'm going to do around the chessboard. So these miters came together really good. They are nice and tight. I did have my seams taped, but there's still a little bit of squeeze out. I've removed the tape. I've got my card scraper now, just trying to get as much of it off as possible. And that's about as good as I'm gonna get. So many clamps. Goodness. I got tired of making spline jigs, so I did actually buy this woodpecker miter spline jig. It was a little expensive, but I did like it. So that's what I was left with. Again, the woodpecker's miter spline jig, it worked really well. For the splines, I'm using Purple Heart, so obviously I had to get some Purple Heart milled down to 1/4 inch before cutting it in half and chopping it into a bunch of little spline pieces. So I got the Purple Heart inlaid into what I think is going to be the base of this, what the pedestal is going to be on, and I was really dreading this part. I do not want to sit here and cut all these splines off, but I'm going to. I've made a huge mistake. That little drawer, it didn't take me too long, but I've got to start over. I don't really know how. Well, I guess I do. I didn't measure that right at all. They're an inch short. Yeah, so obviously that's not how I thought this morning was gonna go. The good news is I did cut extra pieces. So I've got enough cut already to make another drawer, and I can reuse the pieces to that box for the dividers that I'm gonna make inside the drawer. So I can reuse them. It's not that big of a deal, but not what I wanted to do right now. When I measured this the first time, I took the inside diameter, just made a stupid mistake instead of the outside diameter, which is what I want.
So I was about exactly an inch off. So now that I've had a minute to process my error, it's not as bad as I thought. It's only the pin board. That's the only ones that I need to redo, and the tells I can use as a reference. My marking gauge is still set up, so it's just chopping a couple pins. So we're gonna do that now, then we'll start moving forward, I hope. I am done fixing my mistake, and the piece of walnut I used here is it's a lot prettier, so it was a win. It's got a lot more figure in it. Oh no! I put my square right in a pile of Titebond 3. Yeah, buddy. Square. Alright, I just got the heater turned on. It's feeling, it's getting warmer. I'm hoping this is just a little oversized. It should take a couple passes with the hand plane on each side to clean this up and make it fit where it's supposed to go nice and tight. Tight. That may or may not have been a mistake, but I did decide to glue them down. I could still get them apart if I wanted to, but it'd be hard. The last thing I have to do is make some dividers for the chess pieces. So I milled up some walnut and maple, and good thing I cut a couple extra pieces because I made a little mistake along the way. Well, I wasn't paying attention and cut the maple dividers wrong. No big deal, because I cut extra. It's gonna be walnut, but that's fine. I will call take 2 much better. I am about to wrap up another Eternity Projects. All my stuff takes forever. I swear I've been working on this for over a month, but it's done. It just needs finish. I moved all the pieces into my house in my gear room. I'm going to finish it there. I'll put a few pictures of it up after the fact, but I'm gonna put most of the pictures of it finished before the video even starts. That's gonna save everybody from skipping to the last 20 seconds. I'm gonna make it easy. Watch the first 20 seconds. You'll see what I built, and for everybody else, that watched it, you seen how I did it. So had a lot of fun with this one, and now I got to figure out what I'm going to build next.